I've never been so lost in something so boring in my life. So I have a whole face of makeup here that I wanted to try for y'all because it's all like extreme luxury, like more luxury pricing than I typically have on my channel. And I was like, you know what? All of these are underwhelming, and I don't want to do some like full face of luxury beauty and just sit here and talk about how they're all underwhelming and end up with a face of makeup that I don't totally love, because that's not incredibly helpful, especially because what I would really want to do is tell you what is better. And that's why I have this crazy huge collection, is so that I can compare things and dupe them for you. Yes, the big buzzword that gets you lots of clicks on YouTube and everything. We're gonna be duping luxury products today. But I did get some confusion the last time that I was talking about overpriced luxury beauty, because I then in another video said that I am a luxury queen. I don't shop at the drugstore very much, and I think when people think of dupes, they usually think of drugstore dupes. Dupe is just short for duplicate. It just means that it's the same. It doesn't even necessarily mean that it's less expensive. These are less expensive, but only by virtue of the fact that the stuff that I'm comparing them to is crazy expensive. So in that sense, it did make my job kind of easy, but I've got a bunch of stuff that y'all haven't even seen yet, like in use on my channel. I picked up the Hermes Plein Air. This is the Natural Enhancing Complexion Balm. I saw this on Michelle Wong's channel because she is uber luxury over on her channel. If you haven't checked her out, definitely check her out. And she was underwhelmed by it, but nonetheless, I thought I would give it a shot. And I also picked up this when y'all tagged me in it because it looked like instant Fjord's cheeks. This is the Eye to Cheek Dual Use Blush and Shadow Powder from Valentino in the shade 11. And it is this wildly deep, desaturated berry color, kind of. And I will spoil this for y'all. It is too desaturated and kind of deep for me. It's a little too muddy, and so it's more of like a contour. So I'm going to be combining it with the Gucci blushes today. I'll be duping out the Gucci blushes. I'm gonna do one half of my face all luxury, and I'm gonna do the other half of my face with the more just like what you would think of as prestige, regular pricing kind of beauty on this side. All that said, let's go ahead and jump in. So I already have my sunscreen on, but I also did my new face this morning, my new face mini. So I, gave myself a little electronic, facial treatment or whatever. And the aloe stuff that is the conductor for it, I'm not sure whether it's that or like I've gotten back on Curology because I'm trying so hard to heal all these crazy breakouts. So things are like peeling a little bit. I'm not really sure like what the residue is, but if you see white flaky stuff, it's not because of this makeup, it's because of whatever skincare I used. Okay, so starting with the Hermes Plein Air, I did get this too light. I got it in the shade 20 Sable. I think this is like $85, and Plein Air means painting outside. When, you'd stand outside, you've seen people in movies do it and stuff, and they look at a landscape and they paint a landscape, on their easel sitting outside. That's Plein Air. I think that's a really clever name. It's a little snooty, but what do you expect? And it also has like the scent. There are scents that are good, there are scents that are bad. This one's not good or bad, it's just very there. It's a little soapy, like almost a little cleansery. It's a little strange, but yeah, I did end up with too light of a shade, but that's okay. I'm actually okay with it because my skin is lightening up very rapidly as we move into fall time. I can make it work. It's a pretty lightweight thing. The only thing about this is just that like, it's just like kind of underwhelming, for what it is. I think it's just for people who want to know that they're using an Hermes makeup product. I'm sure it has some like skincare ingredients in it, and it does have a lovely luminosity, but other than that, I mean, it's fine, And $85 should not be fine. I'll pay for Neutrogena at the drugstore and be okay with fine. Not Hermes. And I think that is the case a lot with luxury beauty, is like if you're not really exposed to a lot of formulas across the spectrum on a regular basis, then it's easy to get desensitized to pricing like this and be able to say like, okay, well, it's not my favorite product in the world, but I mean, I can get by with it. And then you kind of forget like, there are plenty of products out there that cost less than half this and you don't feel like you're having to get by. So it's almost just breaking the spell, right? But not bad. Not bad at all. In fact, it's got a really, really pretty luminosity to it. And for that reason, I considered using this because y'all know it's one of my favorite things. This is a very, very similar formula. This is the Laura Mercier Tinted Moisturizer Light Revealer, and it has a very similar luminosity to it, but it doesn't have anywhere near this amount of coverage. And this is still very low coverage. Like, this is almost invisible by comparison. And I still want something that's going to look equally perfected side to side, just so that the rest of the makeup looks comparable going on. And so I'm gonna be using this. I love this stuff so much, and I'm excited to talk about it because I haven't gotten a chance to talk about it recently. This is the Positive Light Tinted Moisturizer from Rare Beauty, and it also has a sunscreen in it that I think that the Hermes one is, okay, so it is just titanium dioxide. And I think it might have some like Korean or like J Beauty or something sunscreens that they can't in the US like list as sunscreens. I'm not totally sure, but I know that it doesn't have any of our typical chemical sunscreens in it, like octinoxate or homosalate or octocrylene or anything like that. And then the Rare Beauty has homosalate, titanium dioxide, and zinc oxide. So it's both a chemical and a physical sunscreen. And it is just so nice. And it's a better shade match for me than the Hermes. So it'll look a little different, but again, I just wanted that nice perfected finish. But I can't recommend this stuff highly enough. It's so pretty. Actually, it's pretty similar in shade. I think we'll be right on the money here. Oh my goodness. The first time I put this on my skin, that's how you know. You know, you just kind of get the feeling right when you put it on. They sent this to me in PR a while back, and it was in an ocean. It was kind of another season of what we're experiencing lately, which is just, you know, like every brand having the same idea about putting out a luminous skin tint or whatever. Now we're kind of in a season of like more natural finish, you know, satin matte skin tints, but this one came out with a lot of competitors right there in its cohort, but still, it stood out to me as soon as I put it on. I was like, yes, okay, dialed in. Like, this is just the kind of skin tint that's what I think of when I think of a skin tint. It is enhancing to my skin. It's a blurring. It has a really lovely like dry down, but also a little bit of a, like almost a dewy, just like a dewy appearance to it. Kind of like the way that like the Milk Makeup Bionic products dry down. You know, it looks bouncy looking, but it's not because it's sticky. And it has the right amount of coverage. And since it does have some silicones in it, it is still buildable and lightweight on the skin, but it stays really nice and like hydrated over the day. So it's like I can take that and build it on that spot that refuses to die. It's like, I've always had garbage cell turnover, but I feel like it's gotten even worse. What is going on? I feel like, you know, I've always also joked that hormones are the strongest power in the universe. They get to decide like who you are on a day-to-day basis, but lately they have been just conspiring against me. I had that cyst on my ovary and like my body has just not been right since then. So, super comparable. Super comparable. In fact, it looks like there's less coverage right here. It's really because there's like this weird thing under the skin that is healing, and that type of skin right there under your eye, it just shows everything, and mine are particularly transparent. So don't blame the Hermes for that, but like they're so similar. Again, this is why I have a collection as large as I do, is so that I can compare things like this. There's no scent to the Rare Beauty one either. It's just a superior product, and I don't even know what it is. But off the top of my head, I know she's not $85, okay? In the wide world of bronzers, there really aren't a lot that look like this one, and I will continue to admit that, okay? So this is the Gucci bronzer. Very few of them have this beautiful rosy quality to them. I'm pretty sure Haus Labs has one like this, but the one that I have isn't like this. The closest I was able to come were, I have two. I have one from Beauty Pie, and this is in Sunnyside. So it's not quite as pink, but it's pretty similar, and it's better of a match than Goldilocks. And I was trying to get something matte, but I did run across Heaven's Glow Blush from M Cosmetics in Baroque, and it's very similar in its pink quality, like pink, you know what I mean? But it's got this like rosiness compared to a lot of bronzers, and the only issue is that this one's a little bit shimmery. Not ideal. I will say like this has just not been easy to dupe. So let's go in with this one. Actually, we should probably use some powder first, right? So this is an easy one to dupe. This is the Westman Atelier Vital Skincare Powder, and I don't love this. I even considered buying the one from Hermes, and then I was just like, why? I have ones that work so well, and literally no one has asked. So I don't think this is a bad powder, but it's like not meant to be used under the eyes, and it's white, and it's just kind of like not worth the crazy price tag, you know? 75 bucks, it's like kind of ridiculous. I have recently run across some really fantastic ones. Today I think I'll use the House Labs one because it's very similar, but I mean I could also use the one from Make Beauty or even the Kosas, you know? I feel like setting powders have really come a long way recently. We're just getting these very beautiful lightweight powders that are good even for dry skin. Like, you know what I mean? They're not giving you this like super mattified appearance, but that's just so gosh darn much better. The House Labs powder is so gorgeous. It's so pretty. I didn't put on any concealer. I'm just like, my brain is someplace else right now. Wow, I didn't put on any concealer. Okay, well, we'll do it now. It's gonna be imperfect, but it's okay. I'm gonna go with the Kosas, and I don't have any luxury concealers. I just don't. Right after I powder the crap out of everything. So if it goes cakey, it goes cakey, but whatever. Has anyone else had just like, I mean, this is going up Monday, so maybe we'll have a little bit more perspective by then or whatever, but it's Friday when I'm filming this, and this week has just been absolutely insane. Like, it started out with me having to handle the identity theft situation and with me just injuring the crap out of myself. My face, my legs are covered in bruises. I really don't even know where half of them came from. I have a really weird one, like a random one, like right here on the inside of my arm, like what's going on. And I've like lived like most of this week with this really hideous crick in my neck just from cuddling with my dog. My child has not once, but twice had to have me called because they always call if they knock their head, like anywhere above the neck, if they, you know, bump something. And so the first day it was like, oh, he got a bruise. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, as long as he's not going to the emergency room or anything. And then the next day they call me again and they're like, he just ran into a bookshelf. And it was like right when I was on my way to come get him. And y'all, the goose egg on this child's head, like he didn't have to go to the emergency room still, but the goose egg on his head was absolutely terrifying because, you know, two of the teachers were very specific to tell me when they bump their head in a spot that doesn't have any like cartilage around it, there's no place for the bruise to go when it swells, and so it just swells out. There's no place inward because obviously he has a skull, and so the thing was like, it was like bookshelf shaped, you know what I mean? It was like so literal, and it was like, you know, you could almost hear it throbbing. And so he got home and I got a little bit of food in his belly, but he was in such a bad mood. And I was like, do you want some Motrin for your head? And he's like, yes. So yeah, him. And then my husband had his surgery, and I mean, he's actually being an incredible trooper. I am like, so, he doesn't need to be as strong as he's being, but he's been in such a good mood. And this is his fourth time going through this. So he definitely has experience with it, but like, that's your head, dude. Like, he had his ear surgery. I don't want to go into specifics. It's gross. You know what I mean? What they have to do to operate on your ear is just very horror movie. But yeah, so I'm just very proud of everybody and their resilience, but it has just been quite a week, okay? It's been quite a week. Plus, I don't know, I've heard rumblings. I haven't watched it yet, and by the time this goes up, I will have watched it, but apparently, Great British Baking Show has put out a Mexico week this week, and it's like horribly unaware and out of touch and insensitive. So really just looking forward to the chaos there. The mustache. Why did no one stop him? Can't wait to see what unfolds. I mean, nothing will surprise me at this point, but I mean, we do think of that as being a sacred space, right? We shall see. They're not really as close to Mexico as we are, but there's really no excuse. That actually went just fine. That Kosas concealer. It really makes me look like a pro, right? So now that we've got our powder and everything on, we can go in with some bronzer. I'm going to go with the Gucci first. I I do much prefer the Gucci smell. The Hermes smell is lingering. She is lingering. She is really like wearing out her welcome right now. I pulled this out and I like held it kind of while I was looking for something else. And the brush that usually is like housed in this little underneath area fell on the ground. And I thought that the whole pan of bronzer had fallen out and I had like a tiny heart attack. Because I really like this stuff. It's so pretty. Like, look at that, how it's really rosy. So this is just the most luxurious bronzer that I own. I wouldn't say that this falls into the not worth the money category because I think it's actually awesome. Because it really gives you the experience start to finish. Not just being a great formula and a great shade and like, you know, just being a pleasure to apply, but like, it's like Tiffany blue with this like Art Deco luxurious packaging. The whole thing is it's a very complete thought. So I've been impressed with this from the beginning. It's also just very easy for me to wear. I don't really love that foundation, but again, it's not really for me. You know, it's a pretty matte foundation, which is just not for my skin type. So I can't really make a super like, you know, personal judgment there. So let's see what happens. Hopefully we end up with something sort of similar. I mean, honestly, I have applied entirely different phases of makeup on one side of my face and the other. And at the end of the day, like if you went out and I had glasses on, like no one would know. So anyway, this is, like I said, Sunny Side from Beauty Pie. And I've tried Goldilocks pretty extensively, but I haven't actually given this color much of a shot just because Goldilocks was so easy. But I think that this is gonna be pretty good. Everything tries to turn pink on me anyway, so I have that going for me in this case. But you can see it's a little bit more bronze than blush, but still a lovely formula. No scent. Just applies like a dream. It's so beautiful, and it also does the replaceable pans. So that's how I know what color it is, because this is like a universal little compact for them. And then this is the actual pan. It's very easy to take out. Okay, I'm gonna swatch these Gucci blushes and then I'm going to swatch what I think are comparable to them from my collection before I apply them. Because we already have so much color on my face, you're probably not going to see the true shades. Well, I did it in the wrong order. I'm an idiot, but try and follow me on this. These two are the ones to compare and these two are the ones to compare. Also, there was so much confusion, and rightfully so, about the Gucci blush shade names because they're different online than they are on the package. I don't know why they would do something like that because nobody even cares what they're called anyway. They're such vague names, Rosy Beige and Silky Rose. Like I already forgot. I already forgot what they're called. But people who are trying to buy the shades that I used because they like the way that they look, they're like, I can't get those shades. It's like, yeah, you can. They just named them something different after the fact, and the package says something different than the actual options online. The main thing to know here is this is number 1 and this is number 5. 1, 5. But other than that, they're the same thing. So stupid. So anyway, this is 1 and 5 from Gucci, and then this is Pat McGrath Flirtatious, which is like my favorite blush on earth, and this is actually Heather Pop from Clinique, which is a fantastic, you know, mineralized kind of formula that does a very similar blurring thing on the skin. So I think that we're going to get something pretty comparable here. I'm gonna start with number 5, going with my BK104. It's just a really good size to fit right there in that pan. Okay, I kind of have to hand it to the Hermes though, even though I still don't think that it's like the most worth it kind of experience. Like, it's super pretty. Like, that's a very, very pretty finish on my skin. It looks really nice. Like, I'm not gonna never wear it again. I just don't think you need to pay $85 for it. Okay, and here we have Flirtatious. She is very loved. And what these formulas have in common, I feel like, is the sheer quality of them, because you can really dip a brush in and go nuts. And I can't speak to every shade in the Gucci formula. I only have 2 of them. And there might be some that are a little more richly pigmented that kind of are meant to work on deeper skin tones. But the ones that I have work quite similarly to the original Pat McGrath Divine Blush, like singles that aren't the like split pan. because they're just this really lovely sheer wash that drapes really well. My eyes are really bright. My under eyes, I'm gonna put a little more powder on there. At the risk of going fully cakey, it's just like, ah, you know? BK108. I'm gonna use this under my eyes anyway, I don't care. This is the Westman Atelier. So my child has started to sing the ABCs. It's so cute. I mean, obviously he doesn't like know it the whole way yet. He's 2, but he cracks me up. He's like playing this morning. I hear him going, gabba dee da go ba da, you know, and I was like, are you singing the ABCs? And he turns around to me and he goes, yes. And then on the way in the car, I would go A, B, C, D, and he'd go E, and I'm like F, G, and I'd get to certain letters. He was very excited to say X. X was his favorite, but it was extremely cute. Okay, going with the make. Oh, right, I used House Labs before. Well, whatever. This feels like an extension of my body at this point. Like, I just absolutely adore all of those. I love the House Labs and I love the Make Beauty. Sorry, I was like, what am I looking at? The butt of it. Yikes. Just yikes, it's just not blending. I might end up having to use the Valentino on my eyes because I feel like we are getting almost muddy on my cheeks right now. Maybe I'll use it as a contour because I haven't contoured yet. That's kind of what it is anyway. It would go so muddy so fast. All right, so let's go with the other Gucci blush just for a little pop. This is a pink one. Again, number 1 is the easiest way to put it. And I do have like, I don't know, dupes in mind for things like the Dior Backstage Rosy Glow in 001 Pink. But I mean, that one's actually not even, it is expensive for what it is, but I don't think it's like as expensive as the stuff that I'm using today. But like, I think this is it. Kaleidos Dreamwalk is super similar, and it's like less than half the price. Okay, so we got the little pink going here. We're gonna go with the Clinique. The only thing about this is you kind of have to be a little aggressive right when you get it because it's pressed really hard. You know, you kind of have to like break that like initial seal, but it's so pretty. It's hard to do half your face, like when it comes to like the very center. You're just like, I don't know. It's my nose, I don't know. So the best dupe that I found for this shade in the Valentino was actually just the RMS Hanky Panky. And by that I mean that it's actually like a better version of it for me because this is too kind of like deep and sooty for me, so. Ooh, but they're both so velvety. So, I mean, very clearly, like the Valentino is deeper. And Hanky Panky has this pretty awesome shift to it. So I'm gonna try and just use that as like a little bit of a contour because that is what the Valentino does on me. There go my glasses. So to answer the original inquiry, yikes, which was, you know, is the Valentino blush like instant Fjord's cheeks? Maybe for deep skin tones, but not for me. See? Yikes. And I have seen videos of people like using a color like this to contour. I saw one of Candace Swainpole doing it and I was like, wait, you know, I could use like eggplant to contour with, and that's what she does. She actually used like a MAC eyeshadow to do it. And I thought that was really fascinating, but like, suffice to say, I have not refined the technique quite yet. And it is just, it's a very inconsistent kind of formula on my skin because the contrast is just really hard to overcome. This unfortunately was a flop for me. And honestly, like, I'm just not ready to stand in line to pick up more makeup from Valentino to begin with, so. Like their weird scented eye glitters, that was such a big fail. Okay, I mean, I'm not loving any of this right now, and that's fine. It just is what it is. I don't know if that's necessarily a technique I would recommend. If you're going black to like me, I don't know if that's something that I would recommend, but yikes. I don't know what's going on with my cheeks right now. Like, why is everything so muddy? I don't know what's going on with my cheeks right now. I didn't put on any concealer. Right after I powder the crap out of everything, so if it goes cakey, it goes cakey, but whatever. I don't know, but it's fine, it's with makeup. Anyway. All right, the next thing that I have here is the Dior 5 Colors Couture eyeshadow palette, and this is in 509 Golden Bouquet. Totally understand if you look at that and you're like, that is the most underwhelming thing I have ever seen. I was excited to have something that might be an extraordinarily luxurious formula in very usable shades. Something that I could actually like travel with and get something really pretty and sultry and just experience it. Unfortunately, they're all shimmery, and the leap between the outside shades and that inside shade is wild. Like there's nothing in between. So it's like, you know, sure, this is gonna show up on a lot of people, but these are not the same customer as that in a lot of cases, and mixing them still, it's such an extreme brown. So I actually pulled 2 of these because even combined, 2 of these cost less than this quint right here. And I think that the formulas are just far superior. So this is Neutral Moment and Toasted Caramel from Kaja. So Neutral Moment is gonna give me all the mattes that aren't in that Dior palette. Like 2 of them are these really gorgeous, like there's just a really good neutral cream and a neutral deep brown. And then there is this like satin shade right here that's just a really pretty, like what would we even call that? It's quite lovely. It's like a very desaturated like tan taupe. Then Toasted Caramel is all shimmers, which, you know, this is technically all shimmers, but it doesn't have, like the Dior one, it doesn't have like an actual like shimmer payoff. It's just a little too much to use in the crease, which you will see. So I'm going to try and demo just like what my ideal situation is with using shimmer and matte decisively instead of just mashing them together and really poorly using 5 pans of makeup, so that you can get something that actually builds a better illusion, in my opinion. So let's start with Dior here. And I mean, it does go quick, I will say that. Like it definitely has that going for it. It's a fast palette to use, but like other than that, I've never been so lost in something so boring in my life. Start with just a really medium shade right here. It's kind of a gold. It's funny that they call it Gold Bouquet when like that's the closest thing to a true gold in the whole pan, and it's like it still isn't gold. Okay, and then I'll go with the lightest shade just to get established here. I really don't feel like these other ones are necessary at all. So I don't know, I'll just use them just for the sake of science, but like there's no difference to any of them. It's just this kind of like in-between blah thing. I'm like applying them and it almost doesn't even look different side to side. And then you have this wildly deep, by contrast, like almost black brown that I'm gonna try and like mix with something else. Because if you apply it straight from the pan, it's not just super dark, but it's like very cool toned. I don't know, it's just difficult. And they really just like whiffed it on this one. And do you see how like nothing really looks particularly comfortable where it is on my eye because it's all a little bit too shimmery? Like none of it really looks like it wants to be there. Like, but like I would not recommend running out and buying this. Using a little more of the darkest brown that's on the outside, which is not really saying much, and trying to blend that a little bit. I'm going to go straight from the pan here in the center so y'all can see exactly what we're dealing with. I tried to get so little product. I'm working on the tiniest little brush here, and still, it's just very difficult to control. Ugh, that makes it look terrible. I don't want to overstate my skills here, but I think that like my experience with this, my brushes, the fact that I do this every single day and I know my eye shape really well, I would hope that I would be able to show something like this in its most positive light. And it's still really hard, you know? Way harder than it should be. So, creating a little outer V and then giving a base for where my eyeliner is gonna go. But like that does not make me feel cute. It's just kind of dramatic and weird. So That's what it looks like when you have no control over the textures, right? They're all the same. And it just makes this sort of like muddy thing that, I don't know, it just definitely shows off a ton of texture and it blends. I mean, there should be no excuse for a bad blend, but it looks like it's even worse than it is because it's reflecting light in all these ways that you couldn't have like compensated for. So I'm going to start with Neutral Moment, and I'm going to show kind of what I think is obviously a more favorable experience, right? And I'll go in with this one because it's very, very similar to that gold that I started with, that quote unquote gold, but it's just so much more pure and easier to control because it's not completely matte, but it's also not sparkly. Because I'm all about a weird color, you know? I'm not mad that that color on the other palette isn't technically gold. You know, they call it gold bouquet, golden bouquet, but like, I'm all here for like weird shades because they tend to add dimension in ways that are a little bit less detectable on the skin. That was just a heck of a lot easier and I think it looks a lot better. I get PR from Kaja, but you would think I was like sponsored by them or something. There is nothing like that behind the scenes being undisclosed. I'm just very impressed with the formulas and just the conciseness. I find the conciseness of these little trios to be just honestly like thrilling. Thrilling. The fact that like something like this exists in so many iterations and they're all great. Like that was definitely an issue that I had with some of those like e.l.f. little 4-pans. I wouldn't even call, they're quads, yes, but they're not in a square, they're in like a line. I don't know why that makes me think that they're not quads. They are still quads, but point being, they weren't all great. So I couldn't just give them like a wholesale stamp of approval. It was like, oh, this color is okay, this colorway is okay, and this one's like kind of underperforming. And that's no fun. So I'm gonna go in with the lightest shade in here, just like we did with the Dior palette. And the matte is just so much more flattering. It's so much more just like skin texture. This is giving me something, it looks old. Not like an old person. Like, it made my skin look older than it is. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh, you know, there are certain styles that old people wear or something. It's like, no, it makes my skin look aged. More aged than it is. Because it's highlighting so much texture. It's literally highlighting it. I don't understand why Dior, a brand that has so many like legacy customers, would want to do that to them. That's just mean. I am going to go in with this brown that is a much more ideal brown and use that as a nice little outer corner deepener shade. I almost don't even need to pull out Toasted Caramel, but I still want to have a little bit of sparkle because I did end up with some here and this is like almost all matte. Blendy with a little bit of the medium color because it's just, you know, I've laid down enough product at this point. They're very similar, but this just looks, it looks like healthier, happier skin. And I have so much more control. It doesn't look dusty and muddy. And then Toasted Caramel's a little warmer, which is actually kind of nice because I'm gonna put it on the lid and that's gonna give, hopefully, a little bit of a pop. Although, honestly, yeah, I think that one can work. That, oops, it's really not a very good swatch because it's on top of another swatch. This color right here I think is gonna be my best bet. The other one has like a wild shift to it, like a green gold shift, and then the other one is like, it's so beautiful. I'm doing very light swatches of it, but like it's got this kind of like fall brown shift, slightly burgundy kind of thing. Yeah, but I'm gonna do the medium one and I'm gonna do a really, really sheer wash in hopes that it mimics the other eye a little bit. It's just such a more controlled appearance. Like you can show where you want the light to hit and where you want it to be absorbed. I'll take a little more of the gold and put it on my lid so that they look a little more similar. This is from the Dior palette. Yeah. Woo! Ooh, I hate it. I really hate how that looks. This looks like if you like came at it, you know, absolutely no context, you would guess that like this side was luxury and this side was like drugstore, the way that this eyeshadow performed. And that doesn't necessarily mean that like all sparkle has to be wow. Like that's not my point. My point is just to have control over the finishes and the textures. The fact that they just mashed them together like they didn't know any better is so strange. Okay, I'm gonna do my brows and my eyeliner and some mascara. I am going to be trying the new one from Make today, so I'll let y'all know how I feel about that on a first impression, and then we will come back and finish off with lips. Are my lashes kidding me right now? Like, it takes your lashes and it just makes them go big and fluttery, and it's soft. Like, the way that it goes on is really, really gentle. My eyelashes have not looked like that in a while. I'll be interested to see how it wears and how it washes off, but like, first impression, how it looks when you put it on, very pretty. Okay. The only thing left to do is lips. I'm going to start by lining both sides with my khaki lip liner from Thrive, because that's what I would do anyway. So the actual dupe that I'm going to be doing today is for the Gucci Lorna Doone lipstick, and I'm going to be using my OG favorite from Thrive. It's called Stephanie. We will just see how similar they are. I love Lorna Doone because it's so desaturated. And then we have Stephanie, which Thrive is a less avant-garde kind of makeup company, and so this is going to be a little bit more of like a wearable version of it. It's a little bit more creamy peach, but I kind of prefer the Thrive, to be honest, just the color of it, but it makes it look straight up orange by comparison. That's really funny, actually. Wow. So I basically have two very subtly different looks on my face that actually, if you look at each one individually, you can really see the distinction. So let's just do a little recap here. The foundations, I am still not like mad about the Hermes in terms of its performance. I just think that the price is overblown, and I think that the smell lingering as much as it does, it would just give me a headache using it every single day. But I do like that it is a mineral SPF, and it's got a beautiful luminosity to it. It's just crazy overpriced. As far as my cheeks, they look bad on both sides. I think that the Gucci blushes are good, but I do think that those colors dupe the actual shades really well as the finish of the Gucci blushes. So it is not, and I said this from the beginning, this is not an undupable blush by any means. It just happens to be a very pretty package, and the whole experience is really nice. Like, I will say that they are very good. I don't think that for the experience they're necessarily like worth the money, because there are things that exist out there. Like, they're not unique enough to warrant a $49 price tag. The eyes are where it really falls apart. I think that I really don't know what they were thinking. Like, Dior, what were you thinking with this? Because we had such a great concept in mind and we just wet the bed. Like, I don't know where it fell apart, but this little quint, truly, from the standpoint of someone who reviews a lot of makeup, this kind of baffles me. Like, I don't know where the like, who's the customer for this? Who is the customer that wants 4 very similar shades of shimmery satin on their eyes and an extremely dark color that is like It's not a bad color, it just doesn't belong with these, okay? Like, we could have used this space so much more carefully, so much better, and it really just flops for me. So for all of its beauty, it really just like overstates its purpose, and I don't know what they were thinking. This is a huge fail and a definite skip. I did actually dig up both, so I wanted to just real quick swatch. I'm gonna swatch it. This is the Dior Rosy Glow in, oh my gosh, that's soft, in 001 Pink, and then Kaleidos Dream Walk. So Dior, Kaleidos. The Kaleidos is crazy soft. There they are. Okay. And I know that Bubble from Persona is really similar too. They just sent me the cream stick, but I don't have the powder, so I can't really compare, but I can swatch the cream stick real quick, see. I mean, Dior deserves snaps for being the ones to kind of originate this. Obviously people are duping this because it's a great shade, but they didn't think of it themselves necessarily. But there is the Dior. There is Dream Walk from Kaleidos. Super duper similar. I know that there's an Essence one that comes pretty close, but I've never actually seen it in real life. And then, like I said, Persona just sent me the cream stick of Bubble, and it's also very similar. So big fan of those. It can be done, but I do like the Dior one. I just like the way that it goes on. I love the way that it wakes things up. Maybe we just completely go over the top here and try and like brighten this up and kill some of that muddiness with the Dior. I'm not sure it's actually killing the muddiness, but it's something. It's visible. Huh. And then go with the Kaleidos on the other side. Boop, boop, boop. Same finish, pretty much the same color. Like, if you had the Kaleidos one, I really don't think you'd ever want for the Dior one. And it does, it really just wakes up your whole face. That's the vibe today. I have so much makeup on. Either way, that's the demo today. Also, I did put on the Persona eyeliner in, this is bronze, but I would argue it's more of like a copper garnet color. And I did it because I was wearing this. So you can definitely, it brings it out, right? Anyway, I think that's enough of me. I will go and be, you know, strangely excited about things on my own time now, and I hope y'all enjoyed this. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. If you want to keep hanging out with me on this channel, hit the button down below and subscribe. I would love it if y'all did. As always, the best way to support your favorite creators is to share their content on your own social media channels so that new eyes find them. That is what this entire world hinges on, so thank you for all of y'all who do that. I also want to thank y'all for watching and for hanging out with me today. I love y'all so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!